Welcome to Beyond the Old West, where we dive deep into the shocking secrets and untold stories of Wild West history. Today, we're uncovering some of the wildest tales about the disappearances of famous Wild West bank robbers. You've probably heard of iconic outlaws like Jesse James, Butch Cassidy, and the Dalton Brothers. But what if I told you that their disappearances were far more mysterious than history lets on? These notorious figures may have vanished without a trace, leaving behind countless theories, myths, and rumors. But the truth? Well, that's still up for debate. So, where are you joining us from today? And if today's been a good day, drop a comment below with your favorite Wild West outlaw. If you're curious to uncover more about these mysterious disappearances, make sure to subscribe to Beyond the Old West so you won't miss the shocking truths coming your way. Let's dive into these 5 unknown facts about the vanishing acts of some of the most famous Wild West bank robbers. Top 1. Jesse James. Did he really die in 1882? One of the most mysterious disappearances in Wild West history is the story of Jesse James. Officially, Jesse James, one of the most famous bank robbers and outlaws of the time, was shot and killed by Robert Ford in 1882. Ford, who was a member of Jesse's own gang, is said to have betrayed him, shooting him in the back of the head while he was adjusting a picture on the wall. However, this story has been questioned for over a century. Could it be that Jesse James didn't die that day at all? There are numerous theories suggesting that Jesse faked his own death and went into hiding for the rest of his life. Some believe that the man Robert Ford killed wasn't even Jesse James, but someone else entirely. A decoy. The real Jesse, according to this theory, may have lived out his life under a new identity. After all, the James family was known for their ability to disguise themselves and create false identities to escape the law. Moreover, there are reports of a Jesse James look-alike showing up in various parts of the country long after the supposed death in 1882. Sightings of Jesse surfaced, some even claiming to have seen him in Texas and Missouri, where he was rumored to have lived out his later years. What do you think? Could Jesse James have really escaped death, or was his death a simple, unfortunate betrayal? Top 2. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The final escape. Perhaps one of the most famous escape stories in Wild West history is that of Butch Cassidy and his partner, the Sundance Kid. After a string of successful bank robberies and train heists, the duo became the most wanted criminals in the American West. But their most infamous escape occurred in 1901 when they fled to Bolivia to avoid capture. Officially, they were gunned down by Bolivian soldiers during a shootout in a remote town. However, like many Wild West legends, the truth behind their fate is murky. Some believe that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid did not die in Bolivia as claimed. There are stories suggesting that the pair survived the shootout and lived out their lives under different names. Reports surfaced in the years after their supposed deaths of men matching their descriptions, with one even claiming to have seen them in South America, living quiet lives far from the law. Some researchers argue that the men's bodies were never positively identified, and their supposed deaths were likely exaggerated or mistaken. The most compelling theory is that both men returned to the U.S. after several years in Bolivia, living quietly under aliases, possibly even in Utah or Nevada. Some say Butch Cassidy lived into the 1930s, quietly disappearing into history with the myths of the Wild West surrounding him. What do you think? Could Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid have escaped the law and lived on after their supposed deaths? Top 3. The Dalton Brothers. Ambush gone wrong. The Dalton brothers are often remembered as one of the most infamous criminal families in Wild West history. Led by Bob and Grat Dalton, the brothers and their gang were notorious for their daring bank robberies and high-speed chases across the American frontier. However, their most famous moment came on October 5, 1892, during an attempted double bank robbery in Coffeyville, Kansas. A plan that would lead to their tragic and mysterious end. The Dalton gang, including Bob Gratt and their other members, tried to rob 2 banks at the same time in the small town of Coffeyville. However, the plan quickly went wrong when local citizens and lawmen fought back. In the ensuing shootout, 4 of the gang members were killed, including Bob Dalton, who was shot while trying to escape. The wild chaos led many to believe the Dalton brothers' story ended there, but some skeptics claim that Gratt Dalton may have survived the ambush and lived in hiding under a new identity. Some rumors suggest that Gratt Dalton used the confusion and chaos of the shootout to escape, eventually living out his life away from the law. There are even accounts of a man who resembled him being seen in California years later, though these sightings were never fully verified. The question remains, could Gratt Dalton have lived to see another day after the disastrous ambush? Or was his death as final as it appeared in Coffeyville? What do you think? Do you believe Gratt Dalton escaped the fate of his brothers? Or was the story of the Dalton gang truly over that day? Top 4. The Wild Bunch. Mysterious endings. The Wild Bunch was one of the most notorious outlaw gangs in Wild West history. Led by Butch Cassidy and including infamous members like Bill Doolin, Charlie Pierce, and others, this gang was involved in a series of daring robberies, including bank heists and train robberies. However, the gang's end was as mysterious as their rise to infamy. Despite their criminal success, many of the Wild Bunch members met strange and unclear fates. Some reports suggest that Bill Doolin, one of the gang's key members, survived a shootout with the law in 1896, and there are rumors that he escaped into Mexico and lived out his days under a different name. Others claim that Charlie Pierce, who was also a member of the gang, disappeared under similarly mysterious circumstances. One of the most compelling aspects of the Wild Bunch's legacy is the rumor of hidden treasure. Some believe the gang hid a vast fortune from their robberies in secret locations before their disbandment. In the years following the dissolution of the gang, there were numerous reports of people finding hidden stashes of gold and money believed to be the Wild Bunch's loot. What's even more intriguing is that members of the gang were rumored to have lived out their final years in hiding. Butch Cassidy, after his supposed death in Bolivia, may have returned to the United States and lived a quiet life under an assumed name. Do you think the Wild Bunch really vanished? Or did some of its members escape their fates and live in secrecy? Top 5. The Mystery of Flat Nose. George, one of the lesser-known but equally mysterious figures in Wild West history, is the notorious outlaw, Flat Nose George. Known for his involvement in robberies and his fierce reputation, George was part of the Wild Bunch gang and a feared figure in his own right. However, his disappearance remains one of the most debated and perplexing aspects of the Wild West. In 1900, Flat-Nosed George was captured and killed during a gunfight with law enforcement. His body was said to have been identified, and the tale of his demise seemed to end there. But here's where it gets interesting. Some historians believe that Flat-Nosed George may not have been the man who was killed in that shootout at all. Instead, it's theorized that a different man, someone else in the gang, may have been mistakenly identified as George, and he could have survived. The theory goes further, suggesting that Flat-Nosed George, having been mistaken for another gang member, fled the scene and lived out his life under a different identity, possibly even in California. Some locals reported seeing a man who matched George's description in the years following his death, though there was never concrete proof to confirm these sightings. What's more, there are stories about his hidden treasure. Rumors that Flat-Nosed George buried a significant amount of loot from his robberies before disappearing, and that some of it has yet to be found. Do you think Flat-Nosed George really died in 1900? Or could he have escaped and lived quietly in hiding? As we've seen, the disappearances of Wild West bank robbers are not just tales of robbery and betrayal. They are mysteries that have intrigued historians and adventurers alike for generations. From Jesse James's alleged survival to the mysterious endings of the Wild Bunch and Flat-Nosed George, these stories are filled with twists and turns that still leave us wondering what really happened. Did they escape, or were they truly gone for good? The fact is, the Wild West was a place where the lines between legend and reality were often blurred, and the truth behind these disappearances may never be fully known. But one thing is for sure. These outlaws left behind a legacy that continues to captivate us, even today. What do you think? Which of these disappearances shocked you the most? Do you believe some of these notorious figures really escaped their fate? Or were the stories just too good to be true? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the wildest mysteries of the Wild West, don't forget to subscribe to Beyond the Old West for more incredible tales. Stay tuned for more untold stories from one of the most exciting and enigmatic times in American history.